When I was working in-house at fintech companies and as a freelancer, I saw that a lot of marketers were creating content for brand awareness, for positioning themselves as thought leaders, but their leadership was holding them accountable for like SQLs, MQLs, deals, right? So business metrics. But I think, as a lot of us know, like thought leadership or brand awareness content doesn't automatically translate into business and business metrics. So there was this kind of gap here. And that's kind of what we do at Mint Studios is help content marketers, help marketers at these companies close that gap and create content that brings in leads and business results. Um, and a big part of how we do that is with bottom of the funnel content. So content which is targeting people who are already aware that they have a problem and are actively looking for a solution, rather than someone who's maybe at the top of their or at the beginning of their buying journey and maybe aren't even aware that they have a problem. So that's why we focus a lot on bottom of the funnel content. SEO is our primary channel, right? So if you're going to do bottom of the funnel content and use SEO as a channel, then of course you need to target people who are actively searching online for your solution, right? So that's an important factor. The other factor I would say is you want to make sure that you're targeting that you've already been able to acquire customers cold. So for example, you've only ever acquired customers via your network, then it's a little bit unproven whether they'll be able to find you online and then buy your product. 90% of the content we create is based on an interview with someone on the client's team. And the reason is because, we're creating bottom of the funnel content, which means we're targeting, this is written for people who are already close to converting. These are people who are likely experts on that topic, and they're just looking for information to make a business decision, right? And so we don't need all this fluff. We don't need all this like generic content. We want to make sure we're writing at a level of their knowledge. And in order to do that, the best way is to get the expertise from the people who know what they're talking about. So the experts in our client's business, because sure, we know a lot about payments and financial services, but we might not know so much about the product or about specific use cases. So by interviewing the experts or the people on the client's team, we can go into a lot more detail about the product. We can also add in opinions that, helps the piece of content stand out from others. And as I said, then it comes from an actual expert. It's actually written at that level, and that's what helps that reader then make a decision. How do we attribute conversions? So nearly all of our clients use either HubSpot or Salesforce. If they don't have that, we can try and do an estimate with J4, but typically they use HubSpot or Salesforce. And if you know your way around those tools, you can set up reports in a way that allows you to track first and last click attribution conversions. So for example, first click, we will track how many people discovered the website via a specific piece of blog content, which is where SEO comes in. And then did they convert? And if they converted, what was the value of that contract, right? And then we'll also look at last click. So maybe someone entered via a homepage or a product page, clicked around, read one of the blogs, and then converted. And then we'll track that. And we'll also track, obviously, whether an opportunity was created, the value of that contract, and then also if it closed. So that's how we're able to track kind of the value of the conversions that a piece of content has brought in. And we can also track influenced. So maybe someone who entered via a homepage or a product page, read a few blogs, and then went back to a product page and then converted there, because that's quite interesting as well for us. So to us, it's just very important to track all that, because it also gets you a really deep understanding of the customer, like how people are interacting with your website, what kind of topics they're interested in. So this is a big pillar or a big part of our work, because it really helps us understand the customer and also obviously help the marketer prove the contribution of content to their leadership. It's about getting the right writers, right? And so everyone that we hire and bring on our team is very carefully vetted and is trained for a few months before they start. Usually they'd be start by then already working on content, but there's a lot of training that goes into it. And so we're looking for writers who have a lot of empathy, who can put themselves in the shoes of the reader and really understand what they're looking for. We're looking for writers who have really good clarity of thought, so they can explain things clearly. And then the last thing I'd say is that they're inherently curious, right? They will take the time to really understand a product in order to be able to explain it well. So a big part of writing good technical content is getting these kind of writers who know how to write that kind of content. Then, of course, the other part of that is the interview, right? By interviewing an expert, it's a lot easier to get into the level of technical detail that we need to. And then finally, we have a pretty comprehensive, I'd say, writing process. So instead of just sending a brief to a writer and saying good luck, basically, there's a very collaborative process between the strategist and the writer. So at the beginning, the writer and strategist will agree, okay, we should focus on these pain points. These are the product features and benefits that we'll write about. This is the outline, etc. And then after that, once the strategist approves that, the writer will write a first draft, strategist reviews that, and then a second draft. So, and that usually takes about 2 weeks. So these are quite comprehensive, long form, a lot of work and thought are put into these pieces of content. And this is what we found is required in order to write, not because we're not just writing technical content, we're writing technical content that's going to convert readers into buyers. So you really need to know what you're doing there.